world didn't lose Amy Winehouse, but let her go. She sang about drowning long before she sank. Her voice shook with truth, her lyrics cut deeper than most dared to write, but no one reached out. Instead, her pain became a punchline. Her collapse was scheduled, televised, applauded. She stood on stage, trembling, incoherent, trapped in a body that was giving up while the crowd kept cheering. Her fall was documented, monetized, consumed. The more she suffered, the more the world watched. Not with compassion, but with anticipation. Amy's life wasn't undone by one mistake. It was dismantled by years of silence from those who should have protected her. Managers pushed her to perform. Paparazzi chased her into corners. Those closest to her turned away or turned her into a brand. She didn't need fame. She needed peace. But peace doesn't sell records. She was 27, not just another member of the club, but the most visible, the most filmed, the most sold. And when she died, the world pretended to be shocked, as if her destruction hadn't been public property all along. This story is not about an overdose. It's about neglect dressed as love, ambition disguised as care, and a spotlight that burns brighter than any warning sign. Amy didn't die alone. She died surrounded by cameras, by pressure, by silence. Amy Winehouse emerged from the heart of North London like a relic from a different time. While the music world cased plastic pop and polished choreography, Amy brought something dangerous: authenticity. Her voice was coarse, bruised, defiantly soulful. It didn't sound like the 2000s. It sounded like a confession dragged out of a smoky jazz bar at closing time. She didn't play the game. She tore the rules up. Her debut album, Frank, introduced her as an artist who was unfiltered and unafraid. She refused to be styled, scripted, or softened. She rejected the image that the industry wanted to mold her into. Instead, she wrote about real things: bad sex, broken love, emotional damage, with the kind of honesty that embarrassed radio hosts and thrilled critics. But that honesty came at a cost, because the more she gave away in her music, the more the world demanded from her life. By the time Back to Black exploded globally, Amy was no longer a promising talent. She was a phenomenon. But the public wasn't just obsessed with her sound, they were obsessed with her downfall. Every heartbreak became a headline, every relapse, a photo series. Her eyeliner smudged? It trended. She stumbled out of a car? Paparazzi swarmed. The pain in her voice wasn't enough. They wanted the pain in her eyes. Her relationship with Blake Fielder Civil fueled the flames. Volatile, codependent, destructive. He introduced her to hard drugs. She called him the love of her life. Together, they spiraled through arrests, overdoses, and rehab centers. Their bond became inseparable from her music and inseparable from her decline. As Amy descended further, the institutions that were supposed to protect her, record labels, management, even family, either enabled her or stood by. Rehab wasn't a place for healing. It was a marketing slogan. Her father pushed her to keep performing. Her label kept booking shows she couldn't survive. And the cameras never looked away. Amy didn't live in private. She disintegrated in public. Her life became an exhibit, her music a soundtrack to her undoing. And behind it all, a truth that would soon become impossible to ignore. The machine that made her famous was the same one destroying her. Amy Winehouse grew up with jazz in her blood and rebellion in her voice. She wasn't molded by producers or built by executives. She was lightning, raw and untamed. At 9, she coped with her parents' divorce by diving into music. At 14, she was already writing songs that pierced through adult emotions with unnerving accuracy. She didn't chase the stage, it found her. When Frank debuted in 2003, it was unlike anything else. Jazz-fused R&B with brutally honest lyrics full of sarcasm, insecurity, and biting intelligence. The album wasn't a commercial juggernaut, but it established Amy as a singular voice in a sea of sameness. She became known for her mouth as much as her music. Funny, difficult, defiant. She didn't care about fame. She cared about being real. Then came Back to Black, a thunderstorm in a record. Written in the wreckage of her breakup with Blake, it was an open wound pressed to vinyl. Songs like Love is a Losing Game, Tears Dry on Their Own, and You Know I'm No Good weren't performances. They were breakdowns set to melody. The album catapulted her to global stardom. Awards followed. So did Obsession. She won 5 Grammys. The press called her a genius. But behind the scenes, she was already collapsing. The night she won her Grammys, she wasn't allowed into the US due to drug charges. She performed via satellite, trembling, barely present. The world cheered. No one asked if she was okay. Blake returned. So did heroin. The two were inseparable. They married in secret, fought in public, overdosed in silence. Amy's body started to betray her. She lost weight rapidly. Her arms showed scars. Her eyes dulled. She was photographed with bloodied shoes, missing teeth, bruises on her neck. Still, she was booked to sing. Concerts turned into spectacles. Sometimes she couldn't remember lyrics. Sometimes she didn't show up at all. Fans booed. Critics pounced. Instead of concern, she was mocked. Instead of help, she got headlines. Her father began appearing in documentaries. Her team blamed exhaustion. Her label postponed recording sessions. But no one pulled her out. No one said no. No one stopped the bleeding. She tried to get clean. She checked in and out of rehab, but it never stuck. Because every time she started to recover, someone handed her a microphone or a contract or a camera. She was never given time, only deadlines. By 2011, Amy was a shadow of herself. During a performance in Belgrade, she stumbled on stage, incoherent. The crowd jeered. It was meant to be a comeback. It became a warning. She was done, and no one around her seemed to notice. Or worse, they noticed and didn't care. Amy Winehouse didn't just fall. She was broken, slowly and publicly, by the people who claimed to love her and the system that profited from her pain. Her story is not just one of addiction. It is one of abandonment, exploitation, and quiet complicity. Blake Fielder Civil was the match that lit the fire. He brought heroin and crack cocaine into her life and then left her to burn in it. Their relationship, full of bruises and blood, was the heart of her destruction. He confessed later that he introduced her to drugs. He said he regretted it. But regret didn't undo the damage. Her father, Mitch Winehouse, positioned himself as her protector in public, but behind the scenes pushed her to keep performing, even when she was clearly unwell. When doctors warned Amy not to go on tour, he insisted she could handle it. When she escaped to St. Lucia in hopes of healing, he brought a camera crew. To many, it looked like she was being used as a product, not protected as a daughter. Her management team kept her in the cycle. The more unstable she became, the more headlines she made. And with each performance, each public collapse, her brand became more valuable. She was no longer a singer. She was content. She was profit. Her pain was monetized in real time. In her final months, Amy was isolated and exhausted. She tried to stay clean. She drank instead. Her last performances were incoherent and heartbreaking. She was booed off stage. The world laughed. She retreated, ashamed, and alone. On July 23, 2011, Amy was found dead in her Camden home. No drugs in her system, just alcohol, 3 empty vodka bottles beside her bed. Her blood alcohol level was fatal. Her last bodyguard said she'd spent the night watching videos of herself performing, smiling, then crying. She had been clean. She was trying, but she was done. The media rushed tributes. The same tabloids that hounded her wrote about her tragic genius. Radio stations replayed Back to Black. Fans mourned. But for Amy, the noise came too late. She had begged for help in her music. The world only listened after it was over. What killed Amy Winehouse wasn't a single overdose. It was 1,000 small cuts, betrayals, silences, contracts, headlines, and hands that fed off her instead of holding her. She didn't die from addiction. She died from being consumed. Amy Winehouse was one of the most extraordinary voices of her generation. Yet she was never treated as extraordinary when it mattered. Her art was raw, brilliant, and painfully honest, reflecting not just her life, but her suffering. And the tragedy is not that she was broken, but that everyone around her watched her break and continued to ask for more. As a channel that seeks to uncover the truths buried beneath fame, we see Amy not simply as a tragic figure, but as a mirror of how the entertainment industry and society treats vulnerability in women. She wasn't difficult. She was damaged. She wasn't reckless. She was rejected. And every cry for help she embedded in her songs was ignored in favor of spectacle. The world devoured her downfall with the same hunger it once had for her rise. The press labeled her a mess. The public watched her spiral as if it were part of the performance. And those who could have intervened, family, managers, doctors, either acted too late or didn't act at all. Her story forces us to ask, what does it mean to support an artist? Is it buying their records, cheering their concerts, reposting their photos? Or is it recognizing the cost of their art, the pain behind the persona, and choosing humanity over entertainment? Amy deserved better. She deserved space to heal. She deserved to grow old. Her voice was not just unique, it was irreplaceable. And while her music will live forever, the person behind the songs was lost too soon to a machine that valued profit over protection. Now we turn to you. How do you remember Amy Winehouse? Do you see her as a victim of her own choices, or as someone failed by everyone around her? Was her fall inevitable or preventable? Let us know. Because how we remember her says something about who we are. There are voices that fade with time. Amy Winehouse's only grows louder. Years after her death, her music still cuts like a confession. The pain is still there. So is the brilliance. But now every note feels like a warning we failed to hear. Every lyric sounds like a goodbye we didn't understand until it was too late. She should have grown older. She should have made more albums. She should have told more stories. But instead, she became a fixed image, frozen in eyeliner and sorrow, enshrined at 27. We didn't watch her disappear. We watched her dissolve. And in doing so, we became part of the story. Amy didn't want to be famous. She wanted to be understood. She didn't chase stardom. She chased honesty. And when that honesty became too much for the world to handle, the world turned its back. We remember her not just for what she gave us, but for what we took. Today, her songs remain. On playlists, in films, in empty rooms where someone drinks too much and cries too hard. And in those moments, Amy is there. Not as a pop star, not as a headline, but as a human being who felt too deeply, lived too fast, and burned too bright. Some stories are never told, but now you know.